Well, motorcycle sales are booming, as everyone knows. It's in all the press, but there's still a hell of a market in classic bikes. So what's the attraction with classic bikes? What's on offer to the classic bike enthusiasts? Let's go and find out. Well, there's some wonderful treasures here, and I've got one of them with me, Sammy Miller. You don't mind that as an intro, do you?
Jeff, you're talking about the bike or me?
No, it was you, but and the bike, of course. Now, this Henderson, an absolutely magic-looking machine, looking immaculate with its white tyres as well. And I see from down there, you've got a picture of it when it all started. Yeah. Where did you find this one?
In New Zealand, of all places. I tried in America and the UK, Europe, none there. And luckily, Rod Coleman, who's the guest of honour, we are good friends, and he told me there was one coming up at auction in New Zealand last year, and we bought it, and I brought it back after the race meeting at Pukekohe last year.
And was it complete?
As the photograph, more or less complete. Obviously small parts missing, but all the main components were here, and we've been right through the engine and gearbox and everything, re-enameled it, and it's really basically all 100%.
So what did you have? What sort of condition was it in? I mean, I know you've rebuilt the engine, but I mean, where do you start on a thing like this? I mean, was it a wreck, or was it basically?
There was no serious damage. The engine was badly worn. We had to grind the crank and white metal the big ends and overbore the pistons, put oversized gudgeon pins all the way, valves, guides, springs, all that sort of stuff, you know. But when you're doing them quite often, it's no problem, you know.
Yeah, and when you say it quick, it's no problem.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the most distinctive things that caught me with these white tyres, I mean, and they're not black ones painted white, are they?
Yeah. I find it quite interesting, you know, this is 1916, and the colour schemes and the classic sort of lines of the bikes in those years that really attracted me. I managed to get these white wall tyres. They're made in America in small batches, and a friend of mine out in America got two organised for me, and lo and behold, they're here and on the bike.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is really classic American, and 4-cylinder, 1000cc inline, and of course the gearbox is in the back wheel. It's a 2-speed rear hub, like most people have in their Sturmey Arch or 3-speed push bikes. Well, this was a 2-speed motorcycle one.
Right. Well, this might well be the classic bike show. In fact, it is the classic bike show. And here we've got what I think will be a modern classic. It might look like a Vincent, but it's not. I've got with me Ron Kemp here. He's the importer for the RTV and distributor throughout Great Britain and Europe. That's true, Ron?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell us a bit about the RTV, because at first shot it did look like a Vincent to me.
Yes, it's developed from the Vincent, and it started off with an Australian engineer, or a British engineer living in Australia, Terry Prince, who's been involved with Vincents for something like the last 40 years, as I have. And he'd been doing all sorts of repairs and restoration jobs on Vincents, and finding more and more frustration with getting the things reliable and user-friendly. And during this period, he developed a load of new ideas, which eventually, as a result of a chance encounter with a businessman, he got into production, producing a new engine based only loosely on the Vincent. Seldom has anything so comprehensive in the way of a re-engineering job been done. The whole thing's gone from idea to the finished metal. This is a running engine in less than 3 years.
But it's been based on a wealth of experience on the sort of the failings. I don't like to say failings of Vincent's, but if we're realistic, you know, there were weak points, weren't there?
Oh, there were, yes, and it's easy to be harsh in hindsight, but the original Vincent was built just after the war, when materials were short and a lot of other things were short, and some of the machine tools were worn out as a result of the war effort. So we've got 5 gears in there, unlike the original 4 on the Vincent, and I'd even go so far as to be provocative and say it doesn't really need 5 gears. It's got so much grunt, it could probably manage with 3.
Last thing, most important thing, people want to know, how much do they pay for this then?
The price at the moment is $19,950 plus the on-the-road costs.
Charges,
with
yeah.
Delivery charge, road tax, number plates, this kind of thing.
And it is a built machine. This isn't a kit one. It's not assemble yourself, is it? Or can you just
No.
buy the engine? No.
You can just buy the engine.
Right.
That's 9,950
Right.
plus VAT.
Yeah. Mustn't forget the VAT.
No, we mustn't.
Okay then, right. Well, look, we're going to watch this, the progress of this anyway. But thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, some of you old timers might recognise the name Royal Enfield, but you never saw a Royal Enfield like this one, a V-twin. It's got bullet cylinder barrels and cylinder heads, well, sort of. But this is the guy who knows all about it. Richard, tell us a little about this. What was the concept behind making a V-twin based on Enfield?
Yeah, well, basically what we wanted to do was to produce a classic bike with the looks and feels of a classic machine, but actually have the modern reliability of a new machine.
And this is what you've done with this one.
That's right.
And why actually the Enfield top end? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, it's the only classic design still in mass production out in Enfield, India, and it enabled us to reduce the tooling cost to actually start up.
That's a very good answer, that is. And so it's the barrel, are the barrel and heads pretty well standard, are they?
Yeah, they can be. They're actually modified in line with the design, but substantially they are Enfield India top ends, yeah.
And so it's the bottom end that's really different then.
That's right.
And so, and what have you actually done there? You've made your own crankcases?
Yes, it's a brand new crank, stiffened up. It's new crankcases, new timing drive, new camshafts, and a new high flow oil system.
Right.
So,
The gearbox looks very similar to the old Enfields, is it?
very similar indeed.
Yeah.
We have to rebuild it, and we get it in component form and strip the bearings out and put brand new bearings in. We stick an outrigger bearing in to actually improve the stiffness of the shaft, and we spin it faster to reduce the torque loadings on it.
Have you changed the frame much?
We've done some modifications to it, but it did start off life as an Enfield India Bullet, which is a Royal Enfield frame originally, going back to the 50s. So what we've actually done, we've stretched it, we've stiffened it at the front, and we've stiffened it at the back, and we've actually still retained the stress member aspects of the engine.
How much then? How much for one of these? Is it a complete bike or is it in kits?
Right, if they were actually going to do a lot of the work themselves, they could produce a complete motorcycle on the road for £5,000.
Right. They're putting it in their own frame. And then if they were to buy one off you then, as a complete bike?
Around about £10,000.